Welcome to Talking Giants presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick. And we've got a little preview of the Bengals preseason game, and we have Big Game Bengal on of YouTube. If you know us, you probably know him. He's been doing it for a while. Got like 400,000 plus subscribers. So, and he's a Giants fan, so it was good stuff. Justin, how you doing as we get ready for this next preseason game?
Bobby Skinner, hello. New York Football Giants are playing a home game on Sunday, and I will be there. I'm excited for it. Excited to continue to watch some Giants football. We have a discussion that we're kind of dreading before we get to the interview, though.
Yeah, we're gonna do some Daniel Jones, Tyrod Taylor stuff because I feel like it needs to be done for the podcast. So we'll do that. Then we'll have the interview, and then we'll do some of our four things we're watching in this preseason game. First, this episode was brought to you by Tanner Ryan. Justin, who is Tanner Ryan? Ryan Tanner.
Tanner Ryan went to patreon.com/
Ryan Tannerhill.
Talking Giants, and for $2 a month, plus some other tiers, you get to hang out with us live while we record the shows. So the next two Sundays, by the way, we're going to take then one Sunday off after these next two Sundays. But these next two Sundays, we're going to simulate a little bit of hopefully some early victory Mondays because you get to hang out with us live while we record the shows with the chat. Bobby Skinner will send you some stickers, magnets in the mail, plus shirt raffles twice a month. You know the deal, patreon.com/talkgiants.
Yeah, and by the way, if you're listening to this Friday morning, we're doing like 3 different raffles in one day, so get in while you can. All right, let's talk about this Daniel Jones, Tyrod Taylor stuff, because we joked about it after the preseason game. We're just like, oh, this is actually happening, and we're like, okay, so this is just going to happen no matter what. But Justin, on Tuesday morning, I was, for about 15 minutes, thought, oh, wow, they're actually going to do this. And say, well, why did you think that, Bobby? Well, Connor Hughes had a tweet that said, Brian Daboll says Tyrod Taylor will get some first-team reps during camp, but that's not an indictment on Daniel Jones. It's always been the plan. #Giants. So, Justin, just taking that quote, I don't care if the tweet says it's not an indictment on Daniel Jones. That's an indictment on Daniel Jones. Because, okay, if they're giving him first-team reps, then that means that they're not happy with what they've seen out of Daniel Jones, and they want to give Tyrod Taylor a shot to either win this in camp or to win it very early on in the season. Like, you don't give the backup first-team reps in camp unless you're giving him a chance to be the starter. I mean, that's just the way football works, and that's the way I agree. Unless you're giving a guy a real shot to be the starter, I don't think the backup should ever get first, or for the most part, get any first-team reps because the first-team QB needs the first-team reps, Justin. So that's the way I took it. Am I wrong for taking that tweet that way?
No, because there was no context, and what usually happens when beat reporters put out tweets with no context that want to cause a reaction is exactly what did happen.
Yeah, so in my mind, I'm like, oh, wow, like, this is actually happening. I wasn't going to, obviously there'd be like a section of people like, oh, that's just part of the plan. He says no indictment on James. Like, Daniel Jones, like, well, that's just the head coach. They're never going to say it's an indictment on Daniel Jones. And then you listen to it, and someone asked him a question like, are you like enticed at all to see, Tyrod Taylor, work with the first team at all? Like just asking a question about Tyrod Taylor and if he could get some first team reps and think about giving him some first team reps. And Brian Daboll says, yeah, he might, and gives like a long answer about how like he may, for one practice, he may just throw him in there, and be like, all right, the starting QB's down, go in there. You're starting now. So like a scenario practice. So that was what it was. I gave an answer on that. And it, obviously that's not like a QB competition. That's a lot more than what that original tweet from Connor Hughes said. Because if it's the Connor Hughes tweet, that's a QB competition. Like if they end up doing that, if we get a tweet saying, from the beat reporters like Tyrod Taylor is taking first team reps today, if the next day that Tyrod Taylor is taking first team reps, then it's a QB battle. But if they're just doing it for that one practice, it's not. But for 15 minutes, I thought they were actually going to let Tyrod Taylor get a shot at the starting gig.
Which for situational, like Tyrod Taylor, I'm not going to be letting Daniel Jones know this is Brian Daboll. I'm not going to be letting any of the quarterbacks know when maybe they're going to make some sort of switch, whether it is for a series, whether it is for a practice, whatever. If that is the reason and Brian Daboll is telling the truth, I think that is awesome. And it is what this football team needs, where Daniel Jones, Yes, I think he should be the starter, but Daniel Jones has shown every single year that he gets hurt. And there is going to be a time, there may be a time, it's more likely than not, that exact situation is going to have to happen this year. Tyrod Taylor will have to come into a game because Daniel Jones is hurt.
Yeah, and that's, with, like you said, with Daniel Jones' history, that's a smart thing. But it's totally different than if there's 2 days in a row where Tyrod Taylor's getting first-team reps, or there's a full practice where they're splitting first-team reps, because then that means there's a QB battle. Or even if they know DJ would start week 1, it's like, we're going to pull the leash on this guy early. Kind of with, sure, even though Daniel Jones didn't get any first-team reps in 2019 camp, he should have. Pat Shurmur knew, like, I'm going to pull the plug on this early if we're 0-1, 0-2.
You felt like just between, I think Shurmur had a lot of confidence in Jones, and I think, Dable and Kafka, they seem to have a lot of confidence in Tyrod Taylor too. It just, that felt different that summer than
one guy was clearly meant to be the starter eventually.
Yeah.
And if you ask me, like, who has a better chance of being the starter week 1 next year, I would say Tyrod Taylor, because Tyrod Taylor's money is all in next year, and we don't think DJ will be the starter next year. But with this, I think it's time for on the podcast to finally do a reality check. Tyrod Taylor's a downgrade from Daniel Jones. Okay? Like, I think people have forgotten, because Tyrod Taylor does look smooth out there, and he makes some, like, he throws some pretty balls, but he is a downgrade from Daniel Jones. Let's look at his numbers over the last 4 years. Completed 56% of his passes, 8 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and 8 starts where he played the full game, 202 yards per game. He has not been a good, like, that's what I always say. There's no such thing as a good backup QB, because a good backup QB is not a good quarterback. Now, Tyrod Taylor, like, he is like the best of backup QBs for the most part. Maybe there's 2 or 3 in the league that are better than him. So, if Daniel Jones goes down, it's probably one of the smaller first string to second string downgrades in the NFL right now with that. But it is a downgrade. Like, I think people have forgotten who Tyrod Taylor is, Like, did he get screwed by the Chargers with getting his lung punctured? Absolutely. Did he get screwed by them for not starting that next week? No. In fact, Justin Herbert got screwed because his coach was being an asshole and wouldn't play him. He deserved to play over him, and we saw it immediately. Like, I watched that week 1 game with the Chargers versus the Bengals, and I was pulling my hair out, and I wasn't even the biggest Justin Herbert fan, and I was like, why is this guy not playing? Like, this Tyrod Taylor offense is brutal, and you saw the dividends immediately. You saw it with Baker Mayfield in Cleveland. I mean, he completed 48% of his passes that year in the first 2 games, and so when he started. Baker Mayfield comes in, there's an immediate spark to the offense. They win their first game in basically 2 years, and you know what? The offense looked pretty good under Freddie Kitchen. Do we think Freddie Kitchen's some great play caller or no? And then last year, like, he looked a little decent to start, but Davis Mills looked better him in the same offense behind a very bad Texans offensive line. So I think we just need a reality check of who Tyrod Taylor is. Like, this isn't a defensive Daniel Jones. I don't think Daniel Jones will be the QB next year. I don't think he's going to have some great light up the year, prove everybody wrong type year. Going to be better than the past couple years, but I don't think it's going to be good enough for him to get a franchise tag or a 1-year deal with the Giants. But Daniel Jones is a better quarterback than Tyrod Taylor, and I feel 100% confident saying that.
To rephrase your point, a little bit more of a sports radio take, every time that Tyrod Taylor has stopped being a starting quarterback for a team since Buffalo, that team has gotten better with the next quarterback. It took Josh Allen a year. Buffalo got there. You mentioned Cleveland. You mentioned Los Angeles, and even Davis Mills. The Texans improved offensively when Davis Mills went under center for the Texans, and not with Tyrod Taylor. Not with Tyrod Taylor. Davis Mills.
And again, I don't want this to come off as trashing Tyrod Taylor. And I think a lot of times our tone on a player depends on the public view of them. So the public view of Tyrod Taylor is too high right now. So it's going to come on like we're talking him down. And we can talk about Daniel Jones, and it's like, oh, you're speaking good of him. It's like, no, we're just speaking on him compared to the public view of him. But I just want that clear, like, out there. Like, for Daniel Jones, for me to say, like, when people are like, oh, by week 5, week 6, Tyrod Taylor be starting, for me to say that, Daniel Jones does not have to be, if he's playing like he's played these last couple of years, I will not be saying that ever. If he plays like he has the past couple of years. If he's played like he's looked in practice at times, then I may be saying that. Like, if he just looks flat out bad. But if he plays like he's played the last 2 years, I am not saying pull the plug and go to Tyrod Taylor. Because this past 2 years of Daniel Jones, while not good, has been better than what Tyrod Taylor has been the last 4 years.
Yeah. I get it. Like, I really do. This Giants team has been the worst team in the National Football League since 2017. It's been a lot of years of bad quarterback play. And even when we had somewhat, I don't even want to call 2019 good quarterback play, but we just put up points. The Giants said, no thanks, let's not do that, and let's do everything we can to ruin Daniel Jones after 2019. So I get it. I get it if you want something different. I mean, that's what this new regime is, right? It's different, and the quarterback is included in that. But Tyrod Taylor, week 1 starter, not the answer to that. Tyrod Taylor, like you said, week 5, week 6, week 7, week 8, whatever, Daniel Jones starts 0-2, 0-3, and it looks really, really bad, it's a different story. But Tyrod Taylor, week 1, is not the answer as to how do we fix the Giants in 2022, and then also beyond that as well.
And I'm telling you, I do not think Tyrod Taylor will ever start this year unless Daniel Jones is injured.
Which I think that's kind of likely. So,
but what I'm saying is the point of being like Daniel Jones will never be pulled out for Tyrod Taylor.
I would agree with that.
I don't see that happening.
Daniel Jones outside of 2019, this may be bad. Tampa 2020, right, Bobby?
If he has those Tampa games in a row, then it's like, okay, pull the plug.
But I hate doing this, right? But this is just what we have to go off of as Giants fans. Eli Manning, throughout the early phases of his career, had multiple, like, holy shit, WTF are you doing games? Like against the Vikings. Anytime we played the Vikings at home, oh boy, gear up, because Eli Manning was about to have a really bad freaking game. Eli Manning had those 3 interception games early in his career. Not a high bar. Daniel Jones hasn't had those games like consecutively to each other. So I don't see this reality where Jones is going to be that bad, similar to like you said. I don't see this being that bad where on consecutive weeks that we are going to come to a consensus and say that Tyrod Taylor should be in. I just don't see it happening. But
us as a show, I'm ignoring the noise on that because this is, like I said, it's predetermined that the Tyrod Taylor stuff was going to happen. Yeah. So I wanted to get it out in the open now and just know that like I'm just going to reference people to this podcast if they ask me why.
So and also a sports radio take that I've heard often. Tyrod Taylor led the Bills to the playoffs in 2017. He had 14 touchdown passes, 4 interceptions, and 6.7 yards per passing attempt that year. He led the Bills to the playoffs.
And listen, I don't want to bring up that like he scored 3 points in that playoff game. I don't want to do that because I thought like Tyrod Taylor, like he did well that year. You know, it wasn't amazing, but he did do well that year. You know, nothing special, but he did all right. And like where I will say where Tyrod Taylor did get screwed in his career was when they did that Nathan Peterman crap. That was insanity what they did with that. But overall, like Tyrod Taylor hasn't gotten screwed. But he has a successful career. Are you there, Justin?
Yes.
I don't see your face.
Here I am.
Okay, there you are. And where is DraftKings? Turn big league action into big winnings with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 on any game and get $100 in free bets instantly. Plus, all customers can combine multiple bets for a shot and even bigger payout with DraftKings same-game parlays. At DraftKings Sportsbook, you'll be able to bet on your favorite batter to hit a double in his next plate appearance, your favorite pitcher's next pitch to be a strike, and so much more. You know what? Don't bet. We've told you to bet on the Yankees before in this podcast. Don't. They suck. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code JOHNBOY. New customers can make any $5 bet and get $100 in free bets instantly. That's promo code JOHNBOY only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. And we trademarks used with permission. Anything else from camp that you want to hit on before we get into the interview? I mean, Ben Bredesen went off with his arm wrapped in the center left. We've had 6 different center left guard combos in camp. Feliciano Lemieux, Douglas Lemieux, Lemieux Azudu, Feliciano Azudu, Bredesen, Bredesen Garcia, and then Garcia Hamilton as like as all the center left guard combos.
Terrific, as they say in the Happy Madison promo. I feel like Wink Martindale was talking about during Thursday's practice that it was like he was looking at a lot of technical things today, that it wasn't so much installing stuff, but looking at technique. And I don't think they were blitzing as much. And then lo and behold, the offense on Thursday has its best day that they've had like in weeks. So coincidence? I think not.
Yeah. All right. Want to kick it to the interview?
Oh, we're going to do what we're watching out for after the interview.
Yeah. So check out the interview, and then we'll tell you what you were watching for in the Bengals game. But before we talk about the Bengals game, here is Big Game Bengal. All right, we now welcome on to the program someone we've just kind of become familiarized with in like the last year and a half. And honestly, I always thought he was a Bengals fan. Big Game Bengal. First question, how many people just assume you're a Bengals fan?
And how many times have you been asked this question?
This wouldn't be the first time. So many times. I think probably, and it's a fair assumption, right? You know, I happen to do football and Madden content, and you just naturally would assume with the name Bengal that I would be a Bengals fan. But when I came up with the name, it was just because I like Tigers. I was young. It was over 10, 15 years ago now coming up on. So I just thought Tigers were cool. Somebody in my friend group already had like the Tiger gamer tag on Xbox Live back in the day. And I just went with Bengal, which is close, but not the same. And who knew that I was going to be doing football content, like 5 or 6 years after that.
A YouTube comment that I laughed at on the we're going to talk about the Giants rebuilding the Giants video is, wow, I'm surprised Bengal didn't choose his favorite team to do a rebuild of, especially since his favorite team just made the Super Bowl this last year. I got a kick out of that.
Yeah, the trolls, they love it. On my Face of the Franchise videos, the career mode, because I did one episode last year and then cut it off, and that's pretty much what I do every year. Mm-hmm. Every single comment, and you can scroll through, every comment is, wow, it's been such a long grind. It's great to see this series finally come to an end. And that was on episode 2. And that's been every episode. So that's just a huge meme. And I don't even know. Maybe I'll just do 100 episodes just to spite them. We'll see.
I didn't realize until there was you had a tweet that said who's someone that doesn't get the national love on your favorite team, and you're like mine is Andrew Thomas, and I was like, what? And I was like, anytime I see Andrew Thomas love, I'm down for it.
He's good now.
He's good. So that's my question. What do we do? What do we need to do to just get the national respect that Andrew Thomas deserves? Because he just had a bad first 8 games as a rookie. He got better as that year went along, and then last year was just flat out good. But he was on a team that had Mike Glennon and Jake Fromm towards the end of the year. It's just I know the simple answer is he just needs to be on a winning team, but I want to do it now.
Well, I was exactly going to say, you guys know, the only way that happens for an offensive lineman to get real love is the team has to be successful, or they have to have a successful running game. So maybe it stems from Saquon Barkley being effective this year because, I don't know, Quentin Nelson, for example, got so much hype in the pre-draft process. New Jersey guy, shout out Quentin Nelson. He got so much hype, so that carried over. So even though he went to a bad team, everyone knew, Quentin Nelson was going to be the guy. And even though Andrew Thomas was also a top 5 pick, he didn't quite have so much hype. And it was just Dave Gettleman drafting. You had to doubt anything that guy was going to do. So I think if Saquon is effective, we'll probably see some Giants offensive line love.
Yeah, and he obviously had he struggled to start his rookie season, a lot. Obviously.
And that's what people remember. So.
Yes, and because compared to him, Jedrick Wills had a good start, Mekhi Becton had a good start, and Tristan Wirfs was just really good and has been good since. And it's just to this day, it's people now. I saw someone who was like, "I'm watching film and Andrew Thomas looked pretty good." And I was like, "I'm telling you, this guy was pancaking Robert Quinn 10 times in a row last year." So I'm an Andrew Thomas stan. So I'm just always trying to get the respect that he deserves.
And what started out as a meme this summer, which has actually turned into Richie James hype, is Richie James being the same Madden rating as Andrew Thomas. So it's that was like when that came out, that was like, oh, that's the significant tweet that goes out. But then it started into like Richie James hype it. He's actually looking pretty solid during preseason and stuff like that. We were talking about your YouTube comments, and I mean, you have a huge, ginormous audience. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
How annoying is it being a Giants fan and then not just having, obviously you have a Giants audience that watches you, but also having a national audience that watches you? How annoying has it been being a Giants fan these last few years and having to deal with everybody?
There are ups and downs to it. Like, the positive is that I get more views. So it's such a double-edged sword, because the worse that the Giants are, the more appreciated and better received the Giants videos are. So it's so tough, because obviously I want the Giants to be successful. That's number one. But also it sure is nice to grow my audience and get viewership based off the team being bad. So it's like I'm in a tough spot. It's between a rock and a hard place, really.
With us, we'll get way more views once the Giants start winning again.
Yeah.
But like, we've tried this. We've started doing some like just national stuff on a much smaller scale than our Giants stuff. And we just know that, like, hey, when the Giants are good, we're going to be extremely cocky and arrogant, and our national audience is just going to hate it with a passion. So, like you said, it's a struggle between, like, I'm going to be a cocky Giants fan again one day.
I can't wait.
So, like, Chargers fans who like enjoy my Rashawn Slater breakdown, just get ready to hate me and me throw Eli Manning in your face again at some point.
You just started a YouTube series, talked about it. You're rebuilding the Giants. So I'm going to ask you this. How do you, Bengal, fix the New York Football Giants?
It's a very different question within Madden and in real life. I think I'll probably answer this with a more real life spin to it. And obviously some of that's going to carry over into the game. But it starts at quarterback. We all know that quarterback is the most valuable position in the league. The Giants are doing a lot now to put not only playmakers in place for their eventual quarterback. It's not going to be Daniel Jones. I think we're all pretty much on the same page there. It's unlikely at the very least, but
yeah,
you're establishing the bookends of the offensive line in the future. Evan Neal, I'm sure, is going to end up being a good player. Too athletic, too talented, and the work ethic seems too good for that not to be the case. So I'll put my eggs all in that Evan Neal basket. And then, there are some good playmakers, and it starts with the coach and Brian Daboll, obviously, track record. Mike Kafka, track record. Wink Martindale on defense, track record of success. So the Giants are doing the right things, in my opinion, at this point in the Joe Shane era, but it starts at quarterback, and they need a good one.
Yeah, that's my hope for one of my hopes, just like short term for the Giants this year, is be a team that can beat other bad teams. Where in past years we've been the team that gets beat by the bad teams. But also, like I said, likely Daniel Jones won't be here. So if in that scenario, have a feeling like, okay, but if we get the right QB in here, like, it's gonna work. If Anthony Richardson rises up the boards, and he's a guy.
He is exciting.
He's the one player I try to not get too into pre-draft QB stuff, because it's usually always wrong. But Richardson is the one guy that I'm watching like every single game this year, just to keep an eye on what he's doing.
Well, nowadays with guys like Josh Allen, like and even Patrick Mahomes to a level, you have to bet on the traits, because if they go to the right situation, the guy with the better traits is going to be more successful a lot of the time. Like, would you take a Josh Rosen back in the draft that's like, okay, he'll be pretty good, which obviously for a number of reasons didn't end up working out in Arizona. Or do you take a guy like Josh Allen and suffer through his rookie season and even into year 2, and then in year 3 you have a bona fide like star at your hand? So I would bet on Anthony Richardson if he goes to the right situation.
And we have the two coordinators who were had a hand in that. Like Mike Kafka, when he first got into the NFL, like his job his first year was to really work like one-on-one with Patrick Mahomes, as a like an offensive quality control guy. Obviously, Dable was there for the whole Josh Allen rise. So it's QB is so impossible to like know if you've got right, because it's the position there where it's just like you really don't know, especially from the outside looking in, because a lot of it just has to do with what's between your ears, and it's just no way of watching Florida Gator tape and finding that out. You're going off what people say. But we've got two guys that hopefully we're a part of that. So with that, though, outside of Thomas and anybody that was brought in by Joe Shane, so essentially just the rookie class, who are 3 guys on the Giants that you are like, I need these guys around for the long haul?
I think Xavier McKinney, I like quite a bit on the back end. We all know Xavier McKinney is quite good and young too. I think is the big thing because, reasoning would say that he'll only get better. Might not end up happening. Guys can just flame out, but I like Xavier McKinney a lot. Liked him at Bama. I actually probably preferred him as a strong safety coming out. I just loved what he was able to do in the box, but he's been good as a free safety for the Giants too. So that's a player that I think is just going to be a good football player no matter what. And I like Xavier McKinney. Adoree Jackson's been a pleasant surprise, but I'm not sure that he absolutely needs to be around when the team's going to be good. But I like Adoree Jackson. And I like the potential of Azeez Ojulari.
Yeah.
Good, young, explosive pass rusher. I think I'll go with those 3.
Yeah, Adoree, because he had dropped a lot of interceptions last year and only had one. Well, funny enough, was off a tip pass versus Brady. Like, you look at his advanced numbers, and it's like, this is elite stuff. Now, again, he was facing a lot of wide receiver 2s with Bradbury on the other side. But he was top 5 in yards per target, yards per completion. Was just locking down the other side, which, again, wide receiver 2s, but that's still not easy to do. And, we've been at practices and stuff, and he's looked really good so far. I think teams are just going to avoid him with the Giants' other secondary pieces.
Yeah, you have to. CB2 is such a problem, as you guys know. There's no true boundary, even on roster. And especially with the Giants, consistently, bringing in more and more slot corners. It's like,
we've drafted a nickel corner in the 3rd or 4th round 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
Darnay played outside, but it was so clear he's going to play nickel, and then Robinson and slot.
He's a nickel. He's 5'9", he just doesn't have the length necessary. The only guy that really does is, I would say Aaron Robinson, but I think Cordell Flott's arms are decently long, even though he's still not all that big. But yeah, he's a slot corner. His best tape at LSU was in the slot. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who plays boundary?
Right now it's Robinson, which, we watched in one preseason game, and they just kept on throwing back shoulders and pass him. So, again, the secondary is going to be an issue. I would like to see Aaron Robinson eventually move back to the slot, and if Flott's going to be good, hopefully he can be on. I do think he's a little more fit for the outside, just not at this moment.
Is there a team this year in the league that you have your eye on? Because you do, you're Madden YouTuber, NFL YouTuber. You loved. I love your draft stuff as well. Is there a team in the league this year that you have your eye on that maybe not a lot of other people have their eye on?
Yeah, I think everyone kind of got caught up in the whole Jets thing. Mm-hmm. And they look good on paper is the thing, and it comes down to the quarterback. If there's one team I had to say I'm higher on than others, I don't know, because in my head, there are certain teams that, if I think they're good, it's probably just the perception of everybody else. It's tough to say who I would everybody's down on. I think maybe the Saints, just because I think they're a very, very good team with really no turnover. Losing Sean Payton's big, but they've had the same offensive coordinator since 2009. The offense isn't going to change very much. They won games with, literally not a quarterback playing quarterback. Taysom Hill is a gadget player at absolute best. Trevor Siemian, and they were pretty effective. Dennis Allen staying in New Orleans, and they're getting Jameis Winston back, who obviously isn't elite, but is so much better than Trevor Siemian and Taysom Hill at quarterback. I think the Saints are quite good, and they get to play a bad Falcons team and a Panthers team that, is just trying to put it together with a new quarterback. I like the Saints to be really effective, and they've had the Bucs number.
Yeah. I'm a huge Lamar stan.
Ravens, I think they were going to win the division.
Yeah, so, that wasn't a lock. Obviously, Watson is now out for 11 games, so that makes things, a little bit easier, I feel like, for them. But I'm a huge Lamar stan, and that draft class that they had, too. Just up and down. I feel like you're watching the draft, and you were streaming during the draft, we were streaming during the draft, and I feel like this draft was so kind of wild because there are guys that are projected 4th, 5th rounders that are being picked in the 2nd round. It was just crazy, just the way that it went with the COVID year, and you have opt out guys. NFL teams are trying to the Giants, they try to draft guys that are a lot younger, but they're still like 24, 25-year-olds that are eligible to be drafted this past year. So the Ravens just had that draft where it's like, oh, if you were like well-liked and if you were like a consensus like good pick for that spot, the Ravens were just going to draft you, and they literally let the draft just kind of come to them. So I'm pumped for them, Bobby.
I'm excited for the Saints offense. I think Chris Olave is going to win Rookie of the Year on offense this year. I think with Peyton gone, I do think, like last year with Jameis before he got hurt, they tried to make him too conservative, kind of like, you know, Garrett with DJ from rookie year to second year. So I think this year they're going to let him play a little bit, and Olave, I mean, he was my favorite wide receiver in the draft, so I think Olave is going to win Rookie of the Year. So is Michael Thomas like playing this year? I guess
he's looked good in training camp.
Okay. So yeah, I definitely feel a little better about that now.
He exists.
Should we finish it off with?
There's one question that you usually go to.
What will we finish this off with everybody? What's your record prediction for the 2022 New York Giants?
You know, I gave them 7-10 in my video. I feel a little bit more comfortable with 6 wins, though. Really, just thinking about it, I don't know, because I think about their ceiling, and I think it's probably 8 wins. I really would like it to be more, but I just think they're not there yet. I think this year's kind of like the trial run, seeing just some of the pieces play well rather than really expecting team success. And I just really, as much as I think Dayball is an upgrade, you still got to be able to execute. And I just don't know that the Giants will be able to execute at a high enough level to even approach 500. I think I'm at 6 or 7 wins. I would set the over under at 6.5. I could go either way.
Vegas has it 7.5. So you're taking the under?
I guess I would be then, yeah.
And we're making a graphic, so you have to give us 6 or 7.
I've been the negative Nancy Giants fan over the past 5 years. I've been right like every year. I get so much hate from fellow Giants fans. They love to tell me I'm not a real fan because I'm realistic, or at least in my opinion, realistic. I'm gonna go 6 wins.
Just, yeah, I said 6. You know, so the people can't get too mad at you if you agree with me on the show. Yeah, like you said with the offense, like the offense is going to be better, which is a very low bar after ranking 31st back-to-back years. But I don't know if it's going to be better enough, like you said, to win games because the secondary may be a huge issue. And, you know, like I don't know if we can beat any good quarterback with the secondary we have right now.
And it's not like the next level gets even better going forward. Like, who do the Giants really have at linebacker? Like, the edge guys, there's potential there. But, like, I'm not a huge Blake Martinez guy. I don't think Tay Crowder's anything to write home about. It's just, and that's probably your starting two. So there are too many holes right now for me.
And I think more so than just holes, the depth. Like, the depth is just...
Anyone gets injured. If like Blake Martinez, who isn't, you know, a Pro Bowl caliber player or anything, if he gets injured, it only goes way down from there.
You saw what happened last year. I mean, teams just started running the ball all over. They just started running outside the tackles. It was the only team in the NFL where they made it easy to run outside the tackles. All right, man, we appreciate you. Where can people find you if, you know, our 20,000 subscribers aren't one of your, like, 500,000 or whatever it is?
Yeah, thanks. If you just search Bengal or Bengal YouTube, I should pop up. If you're interested, give it a check out, and yeah, appreciate it.
Do you have more subscribers than the Cincinnati Bengals?
Oh, I was just about to say, it's crazy how you pop up before the Bengals do.
I've never actually checked that.
I think the Giants only have like 100-something thousand, so you probably
crazy.
Are good.
Cincinnati Bengals 48.2K.
Oh my god! So our goal this year is to pass the Cincinnati Bengals.
We are going to pass the Cincinnati Bengals,
and then it's like, all right,
I'm rooting for it.
Next in line is big game Bengal. All right, man. We appreciate you as always, and thanks for jumping on.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you to Bengal for coming on the show. We're previewing the Bengals game. Funny title, Bengal Interview plus Bengals Preview. I started taking AG1. We all know about Athletic Greens. I started taking AG1 because I don't have a lot of time. I wake up in the morning, I go on Twitter, I scroll through Twitter, I'm on Twitter all day. I don't have a lot of time in my life. I'm kidding. I need more energy. I need more energy to go about my day. I don't like taking these vitamins and pills and all this stuff. This is too confusing to me. So AG1 It starts off my day. It's nice and simple. So what is this stuff? With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole foods, superfoods, and probiotics to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, nervous system, immune system, energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all the things. It's lifestyle friendly. Whether you eat keto, and here we go, I get criticism on how I pronounce this, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free, Athletic Greens uses the best of the best products based on the latest science with constant product iterations and third-party testing. With Athletic Greens, you're investing in an all-in-one nutritional insurance. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/giants. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/giants to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
All right, thanks again, Bengal, to come on the show. But let's talk about. You know what? He's if he listens to this, he's like, I'm so tired of the Bengal jokes that everyone's making.
I know.
But
we just met him, so we're making it. But people have been making it for years.
Yeah. So go give him a follow. Help out. We like to help out smaller content creators like Big Game Bengal.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about. Let's do our 4 things to look out for in this preseason game, which I thought we kind of nailed on the head last week. Like I said, Micah McFadden is going to be more of a baller in game than he is in practice. True. You talked about, can anybody on the DBs make a play?
No.
Saquon running north and south, he did. And then, what was my other
Daniel
one?
Bellinger's blocking, which he did looks pretty good.
Yeah, he had like a couple reps that weren't great, but overall he looked solid. So I guess the Bellinger blocking one was like didn't get like the full answer on what I wanted. But anyways. All right, let's go first. My first one is going to be Daniel Jones. And I hate doing you want to look out for Daniel Jones? But here's what I want to look out for specifically. Because once we got viewed some of the all-22 of the last game, the throw that was over the head of Jeremiah Hall wasn't just a bad throw that was over the head of Jeremiah Hall. It was a flood concept, which has been one of his best in his career, and he had a hole to pull the trigger and try and fit that ball in there. And he should have. He should have, especially in the preseason game where your interceptions aren't as meaningful. He should have pulled the trigger. Okay, I know if it would have got intercepted, it would have been all hell broke loose. But he should pull the trigger on that, and he needs to have the arm strength to hit that throw. So, I want to see Daniel Jones pull the trigger into some windows, and not just, hey, my outside wide receiver stack the corner. I'm going to try and put this ball beautifully in here, which we know he's really good at. I want to see him try and pull the trigger. Pull the trigger into some holes. Again, not just throwing the ball back shoulder to Galladay, even though I do want to see that this week. I want Galladay to come up with one and just kind of shut people up a little bit. But just overall, being more aggressive within this offense. We saw some of the basic principles in it. We can see you be more aggressive than we did on last Thursday versus the Patriots. Pull the trigger, Daniel Jones.
Yeah, a point that I kind of just remembered, but then also took away from last week's preseason game. Remember how we talked about the most important offseason acquisition, and we mentioned, Mike Kafka. Brian Dable's important to that too, him being the head coach, and it's the majority of his scheme, but Mike Kafka coming in, and that's such a wild card on what this offensive scheme can be. Bobby, just seeing the simple stuff that the Giants did against the Patriots last week, I get it, it's against their backups. I get it, the Giants offense didn't look, it didn't look totally awesome, blah, blah, blah. But the simple stuff that they did, it just made sense. The Saquon Barkley 3rd and 5 catch. You had trips left. Saquon Barkley is lined up on the right side of Daniel Jones. Daniel Bellinger running a streak down the field. Saquon Barkley running an out route. It's 1v1. All he has to do is win his matchup. There was certain schematic stuff that they did that's just like, gets guys in space. It makes sense.
Yeah, I loved it, man. It was so refreshing compared to the last. The simple stuff we ran in preseason was better than anything we had did under Jason Garrett. So that was very very encouraging. And it's like, hey, but now we got to pull the trigger in some of these throws. We need to get this back in you.
Right. So let's get more elaborate with it. Let's fit some balls into tight windows, and let's push the envelope a little bit more. So even if Jones is a little bit behind, the offensive line is a little bit behind, Tony may not be playing, blah, blah, blah. I'm just excited for what this scheme can do, because it seems like they understand just how the game of football works a little bit better than some of the other guys have. The first thing that I'm going to be looking out for, offensive line depth. I don't know who's going to be playing. Shane Lemieux is definitely not going to be playing. Is Josh Azudu going to be playing? Is Ben Brereton going to be playing? Who knows? So, There's certain guys, especially on the interior, who's going to be snapping the ball? Can Jamil Douglas snap the ball well? Josh Rivas was just cut, so we're not going to be seeing him. Max Garcia, who's been buried on the depth chart so far this spring and summer, has been getting the majority third team reps. Well, now he may work his way up to possibly being a starter if Azudu and Bredesen are out, or he's going to be getting second team reps and he's going to be playing for like 3 quarters. So backup interior offensive line depth. Who can look good? Who's going to be solid?
Yeah, and like Bredesen was going to be a guy I watch out for, even if he played still, like I'm going to watch out for everything. But my second one is kind of an answer on yours, or the same as yours, but Devery Hamilton and specifically. Like he did all right. Played a lot of reps on last Thursday versus the Patriots. I want to see him put together 2 games in a row because maybe this guy who, he's a nobody, but maybe he can put together maybe he could be someone who Devery Hamilton's a swing tackle, and I know he hasn't gone up against a great competition yet, but I feel a little better about it because we need that position still badly. We don't know if Matt Parrott's going to come back, and I know that there's a good chance the guy's not on the roster. But if Devery Hamilton can, be clearly better than Eric Smith and, the other guys in this group, then that's something nice to have and someone nice to hold around a little bit. # Duke Gang Devery Hamilton. So Devery Hamilton is the second thing I'm looking out for.
Yeah.
And actually, well, go ahead.
Well, no, I was about to say that Devery Hamilton, in the backup swing tackle spot right now, that's a spot that I'm expecting to be occupied by somebody who's not on the roster right now. That's one of those spots where I'm I do think this is going to be a post 53-man cut down day. Or what's going on with Matt Parrott? So if Devery Hamilton, if we can feel good about him stemming away from 2 preseason games, maybe can make some things easier post 53-man cut down day for the Giants and Joe Shane, that would be ideal.
Yeah. So again, I want to see guys step up, and Devery Hamilton's someone I'm keeping my eye on closely this week.
I got an email from somebody.
I want to keep up my eye on SeatGeek.
Oh, well, I got an email. Can I tell you who I got an email from?
Who?
Natalie at SeatGeek. She's telling me the subject of the email is all of the Giants' 2022 games. They're all on SeatGeek. All of them. So thank you, Natalie.
She emailed me about Orlando Magic games the other
Really?
day.
Wow.
Live events are back, which means you can get $20 off tickets at SeatGeek with promo code GIANTS. If you don't know what SeatGeek is, they're a ticketing app that makes buying tickets super simple. We've got the apps on our phones, and we've used them a lot lately. We use it for the Yankee game, use it for Giants stuff. So check out SeatGeek, whether it's football, concerts, basketball, baseball, festivals, or more. SeatGeek puts tickets from all over the web in one place to make buying simple. And again, it really is simple. SeatGeek rates every ticket from 0 to 10 to make sure you're getting a good deal. Green means good, red means bad. You guys can relate to that, right? Every ticket on SeatGeek is backed by their buyer guarantee, so you can shop for tickets with confidence. Don't worry, we've got the hookup. Use code GIANTS for $20 off tickets at SeatGeek. That's $20 off your first purchase with promo code GIANTS. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app. Justin, what is the last thing you're looking for in this preseason game?
Yeah, kind of very specific and kind of weird, but Ryder Anderson. So Bobby and I started this thing where we wanted to pick an obscure, random, bottom of the roster type of Giants player to just yell out his name every single day of Giants training camp. Bobby did it in the beginning, and then I kind of continued on the tradition. So I started yelling out Ryder Anderson's name every day, and he started saluting back. I think he eventually began to recognize that some weird person is yelling out his name. I'm going to DM him, and I'm going to see if he responds and just be like, hey, I'm that weird dude who yelled out your name every single day.
No, you should just DM him in all caps, Ryder Anderson.
Ryder Anderson. Should I do a voice memo? That's weird. Anyway, Art Stapleton. I don't know if Art's just pushing a narrative, if he just likes Ryder Anderson and he's been nice to him. But apparently Ryder Anderson has been having a good week of practice, and he even got some first team reps during Thursday's practice. Wink Martindale did say that he's working on some stuff. Maybe he wanted to see Ryder Anderson in a fun spot, but I don't think anybody in particular, maybe besides Jalen Holmes, has taken full control of interior defensive lineman number 3.
There's 3 guys right now: Leo, Dex, and Jalen Holmes.
And Nick Williams. Nick Williams is also in there as a veteran, but
yeah, we don't I don't think he's a guarantee for the roster though.
No. And Justin Ellis, yes, he's a nose tackle, different spot. I
think he'll be on the team, but
I don't think they feel fantastic about him. We haven't seen him a ton in Giants practice like at all. So Ryder Anderson, man, you talked about just how big he is.
He is big, dude. He looks like the biggest, cut up dude on the D line.
Looks like a football player. He looks like a dude. So if Ryder Anderson can go out there and make some plays, make some run stops, maybe push the pocket back a little bit, maybe he could push to make the team, a UDFA out of Indiana. So let's go, Ryder Anderson.
He had a good tackle for a loss last week. Like, he looked fine in the preseason last week. And I want him to be a player on the Giants for a long time, so we can always say, remember when we had our interview with Andrew Thomas, how awesome that was? Well, guess what? We gave you a breakdown on who Ryder Anderson was on that episode. So find you a podcast that can do both. So I'm rooting for Ryder Anderson. So, all right, Justin, anything else before we roll? And then it's next podcast people will be listening to is a game recap.
No, you gave your two?
Daniel Jones pulling the trigger, and then Devery Hamilton.
Oh, you did. I'm so sad to end. I don't even want to end this. This was fun.
Well, we could talk about quickly, since it's the end of the podcast.
The Bengals aren't playing their starters.
Yes, the Bengals aren't playing the starters, which is disappointing. But will make us happier probably at the end of the game because all our players will play better. We are scumbags, and we got verified on Twitter.
Yeah.
Talking Giants got verified, not me and Justin.
No. Talking Giants is verified on Twitter.
It feels so scummy. Like, is it good for us? Yes, because, it's just natural human instinct with Twitter that if someone verified follows you or something, like there's players or whatever, like there's just a natural instinct to be like, okay, this piques my interest. But it just feels so freaking scummy. And so that's why I made our first tweet, like, just smoke some crack after I found out we're verified.
Yep.
I wasn't going to do the corny, like, oh, we're verified.
Tweet's doing well.
So I did it purposely so that, because I knew people were giving us, like, you have to address it. And I really don't like the congrats, you earned this, because it's like, it's just
great job.
It's literally just a stupid check. So I wanted people to be saying congrats under a tweet that said we're smoking crack.
Why are people congratulating us on smoking crack?
Yeah, that was what I was going for. So it ended up working out in our favor. So, all right, that's it. It's raining really hard right now. I don't know if you
I
can
see
hear
your
it.
background. It's very dark. I
It's
just saw lightning.
Very, very frightening. All right, guys, we'll be back Sunday night to recap on Patreon, and then it'll be out Monday for podcast apps and YouTube. So we appreciate you. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy some preseason football on Sunday. I'm skipping my dad's birthday for it. Until then, let's go Big Blue.